like to begin by acknowledging that Carman Collegiate is in Treaty 1 territory and that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the homeland of the Métis Nation.
We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration.
Hi, I'm Connor.
Hi, I'm Nathan.
Hi, I'm Avery.
We are the agriculture class of Carman, Manitoba.
As a class, we've been researching the connections between climate change and agriculture.
We thought it was important for our class to be involved in this project because we know that climate change is a very important issue in agriculture.
We study climate action quite a bit and are always looking for ways to reduce our impact on the environment.
One way we do this is we have a garden in our schoolyard, and as a class, we take care of it.
The produce from the garden is used in the foods class, and some of it goes to our school canteen.
This helps to reduce our carbon footprint.
As a class, we've also studied the effects of climate change on the prairies.
We know that this is an important issue, and we hope that more young people take careers that deal with this issue.
Welcome, you guys. Today we are going to be having a conversation about agriculture and green jobs and climate change. We are interviewing Doug Johnson and Laio Sobrinho. My name is Kolton Worms, and I would like to introduce my colleague, Ethan Wild.
Thanks, Colton. Doug Johnson is the Executive Director of Water Security Agency in Saskatchewan. He has a degree in biology and engineering and now works in water resource management. And Laio Sobrinho was originally from a cattle farm in Brazil and is now a research associate at Technology Access Center for Livestock Production at Olds College. What does a career in water resource management entail, and what are your day-to-day duties with your job?
My day-to-day activities have changed a lot over my career. In the beginning, I was doing a lot of sort of on-the-ground kind of studies, studying water, figuring out how much runoff there was, and developing plans for infrastructure like dams and reservoirs. I moved on in my career, and I started to focus more on managing people. But lately, I've been able to focus more on project studies and less on people. So, for example, I'm working on a drought management plan for the province of Saskatchewan and for our own agency, so that we, facing drought, we're going to be able to handle drought. Also, I've been working on flood operations and programs and grant programs. And then last thing I've been doing is working on climate change and sustainable development for my organization. So lots of different areas of study and work. So you could get into water resource management through a natural resource management or agriculture degree or training in those areas. You could get in through engineering technology. So for example, in Manitoba, you could go through Red River Community College or Red River College Polytech. You can also get into it through engineering or geoscience.
What do you think is the biggest climate change issue related to agriculture?
There's many issues, but the biggest one is reduced food production. And with an increasing population around the world, and with the risk of reducing food production, we run the risk of having higher inflation, which makes people more vulnerable to the overall population, more vulnerable to the problem of food production, and also to the people who are more vulnerable already, which are in the poorest countries and poorest areas of every country. They're even more vulnerable to the risk of facing hunger and associated social problems.
How does your career make a difference to regards to climate change?
Yeah, a really good question. So what I try to do is I try to promote the understanding of climate change impacts on water management. And so for example, we know that the climate in the prairies is going to be warmer, but at times it's going to be both wetter and drier. It's going to be more intense on either extremes. So we need to plan for more intense droughts. And so that means with working with communities, what are they going to do for their water supplies? We're going to have to either develop sort of response plans, rationing plans with them so that they can respond to a drought, or we're going to have to help them find alternate operating strategies or alternate water supplies. Kind of on the flip side of that, we have to do a better job with flood mitigation. So we need to do better floodplain mapping, delineation and mapping, and we have to try and exclude people from developing homes in these areas. So we're going to have different operating plans for dams and reservoirs, and we're going to have potentially more infrastructure to deal with the changes. So sort of some real hard solutions may help us. We may need more irrigation in order to make things happen as well. So that's my biggest issue is how we manage water in a changing climate.
So carbon sequestration basically consists of trapping CO2 underground in the form of soil, in the soil. And that's important because CO2, as we know, it traps heat in the atmosphere, and that's one of the main gases that cause the greenhouse effect. So by removing this CO2 from the air and trapping it in the soil, you're basically reducing the ability of the air to trap more heat. And in agriculture, we use the biological carbon sequestration, and that's how we do it. And the way that carbon sequesters is just by using more sustainable practices such as no-till, rotational grazing, cover cropping, and etc.
What can farmers do to either adapt or mitigate the effects of climate change?
I think producers have to listen to what the people from the colleges of agriculture are talking about, that they're paying attention to what they're promoting. I think that in the future, people are going to have to plant different crops and different crop rotations. And for producers, especially livestock producers, I think they're going to want to plan for redundancy in water supplies. In other words, have secondary or backup water supply systems for livestock. So I think it's just taking a step back, looking at your operation, identifying your areas of risk, and then trying to address them.
Well, that was very well explained. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much. We appreciate having this conversation with you.
It's very good to see that the younger generation, younger guys like you are getting involved with this kind of project.
It is important what we're doing, and I think getting messages out in terms of agriculture and climate change and water management really important. So thanks again.